Yo, board game fanatics, remember that beast of a table we built in the last video? Time to level it up. Today we're creating custom piece holders and card stands. Get ready to say goodbye to component chaos and hello to next level game night domination. I've been expanding my board game collection into more intense games. With more intense games comes greater chaos and need for organization. So to fix that, I started modeling piece holders in Fusion 360. Sticking with the theme of the table, I came up with some magnetic hexagon holders and then printed them out on my LA Mars resin 3D printer. Resin printers are perfect for a project like this. The layers print so thin they're almost invisible and leave you with very little cleanup. Most resin printers have smaller print capacities, but mine had no issues printing these. After separating the model from the supports, this lucky guy gets to be entirely engulfed into alcohol. Isopropyl, but hey, I'm sure it does the job. The alcohol removes the excess resin, and a toothbrush is great for scrubbing all the little nooks and crannies. Once it's dry, it goes under UV light for the final curing. Spinny spin, spin, spin. Turned out pretty nice. Oh god, what is that? Mask on, guys. Safety first. Another benefit with resin printers is that the material is way easier to sand than typical 3D printers. My drum sander had no issues cleaning up that bottom. Now we move on to wet sanding for all the minor imperfections. Here's a hack for you. If you have a tiny void in one of your prints like I do here, I found the easiest thing to do is grab some excess resin, dab a bit on the hole. Now it doesn't need to be much, you don't want to end up having to pop a pimple later. After that, I flash this UV flashlight at it for a few seconds and boom, it's ready for sanding. So now I should probably tell you that this print is not the actual game piece holder. It's only the master for the mold I'm going to make of it. I'll be making the actual holders out of a really sweet material you have probably never heard of. For the mold, I'm using silicone. Now to contain the silicone, I'm using this really thick poster board stuff. A sharp knife and a hot glue gun later, and wow, I've made a box. I did, however, make sure to hot glue gun all the inside edges. We do not want silicone leaking everywhere. I glued the model down and then it was time to mix some silicone. The silicone I got is a super simple 1:1 ratio. It's also self-degassing, which means you shouldn't have to worry about bubbles. Even so, I did a high pour to try and prevent them, all while staying in one corner of the mold box the entire pour. Squishy, squish, squish, squish. Well, now that it's dry, let's remove the master from the mold and see what we are dealing with. And from what I can tell, it was successful. No bubble voids, and so let's cut off this flashing. Then we should be ready for our first pour. Okay, so the material we're using for the game piece holders is called Jesmonite. It is sort of like a plaster, but differs in the way that it takes color. Jesmonite can be colored very brightly and intense, where a plaster will always end up in like a white pastel looking color. Once hard, Jesmonite is almost like a stone. Also, it's very non-toxic to work with, which is really nice. We get started by mixing the proper ratio of liquid and powder, then we add whatever color pigment we want, pour, then demold in like 30 minutes. Oh yeah, I also modeled a piece with a central divider. It went through the same process as the other one, 3D printed and molded, and now we will have even more options when it comes to organization. Most of the games I play are 4-player games, so I figured I'd start with a set containing 4 different colors. After some experimenting, I landed on these. They are all a part of Mad Maker's Neon Pigment Pack, and I'm obsessed. They turned out extremely vibrant. Game pieces are gonna pop in these. I really hope I'm getting across how approachable making these piece holders is. I've dabbled in mold making before, but not enough to be very great at it, and I think these turned out awesome. Now that I have the mold, I can make as many of these as I want in whatever color I want with a curing time in 30 minutes. If I were interested in selling these, I could batch them out way quicker than my 3D printer could. Also in a way more durable, nicer to the touch material compared to PLA plastic, and I can color it however I want. And also, don't forget to mix and match colors. You can really come up with some cool combinations doing that. With all of them nearly finished, I head back over to the drum sander to take care of the bottoms. Then a little touch of wet sanding, and I'm ready to seal these. I've seen a lot of people seal Jesmonite with wax products like beeswax, which I don't have. But as a woodworker, I do know of one wax I always have, so I went with that. Once everything was sealed, I could move on to the magnets. After many struggles, I figured out the best way to glue these magnets in. See, the issue is that you need the polarity of the magnets to flip as they go around the hexagon. That way, all the piece holders can snap to one another. I started with a stack of magnets and then pulled the top one off, glued it in, then pulled off the next magnet, flipped it, then glued it in. The issue occurs when you drop the stack, pick it up, and forget which side was up or down. Then the wrong side gets glued in, and you realize nothing sticks and everything repels, and you fight for your life getting the magnet back out so you can flip it and glue it back in the right way. Don't ask me how I know. So the right way of doing this is to take the stack of magnets, mark the bottom with an X so you'll always know that's the bottom. Then I marked the top magnet with a dot. pulled it off, set it to the side, then repeat that until I have 6 magnets. I then go around the hexagon gluing in magnets, one with the dot face up, one with the dot face down. And when I drop the stack next time, I'll know which was the bottom and which face to continue marking with dots. This all might seem a little mundane, but trust me, magnet polarities will mess you up. And then they were finished. Man, between the feel of these things and how awesome the colors are, they just pop. I'm blown away. They are freaking fantastic, and honestly, I'm always more attracted to things that are actually useful, functional, and let me tell you, they definitely check that box. Games are way more fun organized. Speaking of organized, let's get some card organization going. Real quick, I wanted to inform you guys that I know most of the things I've built on this channel so far have been made of wood, but this is not a woodworking channel. This is a maker channel. Now, I love working with wood, and I promise there will always be woodworking projects here, but just not strictly. Honestly, I've always loved using different methods and materials for my projects, and this one just really reinforced that. See, I've been wanting a CNC for a while now, but I don't have one. And while designing this project, all I could think about was how easy this would all be if I had a CNC. I just design the piece holders on the computer, then send them over to the CNC to be milled and done. Now I have wood game piece holders. But I'm so happy with how these turned out. Wood might have been a mistake. I need to embrace the other methods and continue widening my scope. That being said, we are heading back to my roots here and using the same cherry that's on the table for these card holders. Pun intended. I've milled my boards to fit the table slots and adjusted my blade to 15 degrees so that the cards in the holders will sit at an angle. After I make one pass, I just adjust my fence over a ½ inch and make another pass. I do this for all 4 card holders and then trim them to size. I really enjoy using the eraser on my pencil to apply pressure towards the fence on close cuts like these. But watch out! Those small cutoffs can come flying back at you. Now for some minor aesthetics, I'm using a magnet to give a reference for rounding the corners. I head over to the drum sander and sand up to my line. I also give a slight round over to the backs of each card holder. I use 2 of these adjustable measuring doohickeys to set a consistent distance for the magnets. These are fantastic for making sure the markings are always in the same spot. Now it's time to create a small indentation in the wood for the magnets to sit in. I prefer them to be partially embedded, but with a bit sticking out. That way, when you place them on the table, there's a satisfying metal-to-metal contact that creates a nice, reassuring snap. The table edges are all chamfered, so I found it fitting here to also give the card holders a nice chamfer. A little sanding and then we were ready to glue in the magnets, which was so much easier since you can actually tell what side is up or down on these. I'm just using super glue with an accelerator to hold the magnets in. These do have a hole in them to drive a screw through, which I'll do if I run into any issues with just the super glue. I'm going to slap some finish on these, and then we are done. I finally feel like the table is complete. It's got all the necessary accessories that store perfectly on the side of the table when not in use, preventing clutter. I'm really trying to grow this channel into an awesome maker of all sorts community. Comment below any different materials you have used to make some dope shit. A subscription would be a huge compliment, and with that said, let's get to the final shots.